Welcome back to another episode, and happy Thursday, everyone. Super excited to be here today. Today is an important episode because we are at a critical crossroad in the industry right now and in the world, and there is a lot happening that you should know about. So first thing I'm going to speak about is how will this presidential election affect the price of Bitcoin and the innovation and all the tech? Will we have our massive bull run regardless of which side wins? Or will we not get that bull run if Kamala Harris wins versus Trump? We're going to explore that today in this episode, as well as starting to take the blinders off. There are a lot of things happening around the world that do not make sense, and that we as a crypto community need to stand up together and recognize and help the world recognize, because as Charles Hoskinson put it, these next 10 years are going to be the biggest years of change in human history, and everything that we do now will influence the course of that history. So I'm going to be explaining just exactly where I think this space will be headed, regardless of which side wins. We're going to go over a few stories, such as Elizabeth Warren getting grilled on her crypto policies, as well as all the manipulation and fraud that's been happening. Also, we'll be going over Trump's bold statement that he wants to leave the old banks behind, and Italy's plan to raise capital gains tax on Bitcoin from 26% to 42%, and why this matters to the industry as a whole, as well as a few charts at the end of this episode to show you just exactly where I think some of the key altcoins could be headed near term, and why I believe that even the blue chip cryptos, and I'm talking the bigger market cap ones, the ones that have been around for a while, could even do a 10 to 20x this crypto cycle if things heat up like I believe they will. So on that note, I'm tuning in from sunny southern Marbella, Spain. Let me know where you guys are all tuning in from. I love to know how international this audience is, and let's get started. Okay, so first things first, let's have a look at this video from Trump declaring that he's embracing Bitcoin and crypto and says he wants to leave big banks behind by launching his own crypto token, World Liberty Financial. Now, I know that might not sound like the most legit coin in the world, and maybe it won't be, but just the fact that he's coming out and saying this and starting this narrative of leaving big banks behind is huge for a president. And considering all of the corruptions that's been happening with the banks, especially the one I covered yesterday, that just got fined $3 billion for drug money cartel money laundering. I mean, that's crazy, right? And all they did was get a slap on the wrist for $3 billion when they actually stole $10 billion. And then here we are in our little crypto community trying to build things and, thrive and innovate. And, founders are going to jail, being indicted, and ones that are, not necessarily guilty for what's happening on their networks, just like the Telegram CEO. So things are really strange and they don't add up. And as Elon Musk said, it's so much different, the perception of doing good than actually doing good. And I think it's very important right now for us to come out and really examine what's actually happening as we come into these critical election periods. So let's have a look at exactly what Trump has to say.
Join me live on Twitter Spaces at 8 p.m. this September 16th for the launch of World Liberty Financial. We're embracing the future with crypto and leaving the slow and outdated big banks behind.
Huge. Leaving the slow and outdated big banks behind. That is very threatening to people like Senator Elizabeth Warren, who basically has her pockets lined by these banks, right? And her anti-crypto crusade. So her anti-crypto army. So it's just interesting to hear a potential presidential candidate saying this. I mean, this would never be a narrative that we could ever imagine would happen in the US just 5 years back even, or 10 years back. And it's happening now. It's happening. So I like to keep an eye on the markets just a bit as to who is up. And currently we have just in Bitcoin, pro-Bitcoin, Donald Trump makes the biggest lead in the election so far, up by 20.2% in the odds poly market. So things are heating up. I mean, this election is right around the corner. We've got just over 2 weeks, and it will make a difference, I believe, in the impact of the price, but I'll let you know exactly how much in just a minute here. First off, going along with the narrative of, taking the blinders off, I think it's really important to see how the world reacts and how things tend to be covered up or understated based on the political agenda of any which side, and particularly that of the anti Elon Musk side. Because, whether you like the guy or not, whether you're right or left, he's doing important things for the world. So I thought this was really interesting by Dr. Ellie David here. Saying, yesterday I accurately predicted New York Times headline today on SpaceX launch. My prediction, New York Times. Tomorrow's New York Times headline, Elon Musk rocket made loud noises distressing endangered species. And here it is. The booster then ignited a few of its 33 engines to propel itself back to launch site. As it fell out of the sky at supersonic speeds, it set off sonic booms that astounded spectators but annoyed some residents. So they're focusing on all these, seemingly pointless negative facts when he's actually breaking history and doing something incredible and amazing. So it's very troubling to me. Here he has another post, public sector. For the first time, we have raised the intersex progress pride flag at NASA Center to commemorate Pride Month. And then, you've got a picture here of Elon Musk rocket breaking history. And as you guys have all probably seen, he was able to basically catch and secure the rocket in midair. It's never been done before. It's incredibly, groundbreaking. And yet there aren't, big news pieces by certain sides of the media. So this has been a predominant theme. Even when President Trump, the assassination attempt, and CNN first came out and said that he fell and had an accident. They wouldn't say that he was shot. There are so many attempts on both sides to censor and to kind of control the narrative, that it's time, I believe, for us as a society and a civilization just to stand up for the truth and to stand up for freedom and to try to clean out some of the corruption that's been going on for so many years, especially with big banks. And so here we have, just to put it into perspective, how big Bitcoin is getting, kind of like in stealth mode, because we have no retail here. Retail is not here right now. As I mentioned in a previous YouTube, Bitcoin searches are at all-time low. So if that doesn't tell you what you should be doing right now, I don't know what would. If retail is not here and it's just our small little crypto community recycling liquidity and, institutions getting in on the OTC desks for Bitcoin and buying up the ETFs, we are so much further ahead than we can imagine. And, we haven't even started the parabolic ascent yet. So if you're not in yet, what are you doing? What are you doing? So here we have Bitcoin is now the 6th top monetary asset in the world, just silently creeping up toward, United States and eventually gold. As Anthony Scaramucci said on my podcast not too long ago, that he believes that Bitcoin could easily hit half the market cap of gold. And this is just a long game. One of my YouTube viewers in the last episode said that people have very little patience and discipline in this space. I would agree with him to an extent. I mean, we're all here because we want to make those gains. We want to be a part of something fun and amazing and new and breaking free of the old dying ways. Yeah, that's true. But patience is something that lacks in this space. And that's why I'm saying, if you're one of the ones who's following what I'm doing here on this channel and looking for the undervalued plays before their huge narratives everywhere, you're going to do exceptionally well. And I mentioned that some of these top blue chip altcoins, most of them, if we get this electric bull run, which I believe we will, have the potential to do a 10 to 20x. And those are just the bigger caps, right? So there's huge things coming in this space. And that being said, of course, they're going to be the ones that haven't been hugely covered in the news or the narratives or hugely popular. I believe that they also have a really great chance to run. So I've been talking a lot about Ethereum lately, which I'll show you charts for at the end of this. And just very exciting times. It's time to get positioned, guys. Time to get positioned. So next up. So what do I believe the price will be based on who gets elected? Let's start out by saying this. Since the Fed starts its normalization process in mid-September with a 50 basis point rate cut, 10 yields have moved 50 basis points higher in response to better than expected economic data. The market now expects the Fed to cut 6 times over the next year to a terminal level of 3.2%, up from 7 cuts to 3% a few weeks ago. So there is going to be stimulus happening. I mean, the rate cuts are going to continue regardless of the administration. So I believe that no matter what, we're getting our bull run. And if this continues to happen like this and liquidity continues to get injected, we don't see any black swans. I mean, it's risk on play. It's on. Risk on assets will have their day in the sun. And, this is programmed this way. Bitcoin is on like a 4-year cycle that times with the macroeconomic 4-year cycle. So this is looking to be inevitable. The question is, how will it respond? Will it respond more exponential based on which side wins? Let's check that out. So here we have Vivek. $725 billion Bernstein says if Trump wins, Bitcoin will hit 90,000 this year. If Kamala wins, 30,000. Well, I think it's a bit of a stretch. What I do know is that based on the charts, we're also at a critical point in the Bitcoin chart because we've got a 2-month gravestone doji, which, if you watch Steve from Crypto Career University and some other macro people that like to zoom out, we've got that indicator battling the 2-week stochastic momentum. And it's kind of at a crossroad. So we either need a huge amount of momentum to push us forward, or we could be potentially witnessing a fake out that's going to then have a further crash and we're going to have more time to recover. Either way, I believe that we will get those all-time highs. It's just a matter of when, right? So, but I would agree with the sentiment that if Trump does win, there's a much higher probability that we see higher prices sooner. So Anthony Scaramucci, who is on my podcast that I just mentioned, he believes that Bitcoin will hit 100,000 by the end of the year. And many analysts are saying 80 to 100,000 if Trump wins. If not, maybe we could have some turbulence in the interim future. But long term, I think, going into next year, we will get that bull run. So patience is key. Patience is key. Next up, a Trump victory could send Bitcoin to $125,000, but new all-time highs are likely no matter who wins the election, says Standard Chartered Bank. Exactly. So, the stimulus is happening, the rate cuts are happening, it's all about to go down. So be positioned, be prepared. Don't miss this opportunity. It does not come around often. Bitcoin pumps, I believe, a total of 45 days out of the entire year, if that. And if you're not in the market, it can take off without you and it'll leave you behind. So I'm not willing to take that risk, and I've been averaging in. So for those of you who like the meme coin mania and you want to do something fun, I just put a very small allocation of my portfolio into this one. It's called Maga, the Trump coin. And actually I got in here around 290, and since then it's already pumped double. And, its old all-time highs are here at just over $17. So it's more than a 3x away from its all-time highs this past May. If you believe that Trump has a shot at winning, this could be a fun play. It is also right around the sweet spot of the market cap that I like to get into. It's above 100 million. It's hovering here at 226 million. And so, yeah, I put a little bit into this play. Let's see what happens. Also, we have big banks and governments and people seeing that people are making huge amounts of progress and gains by allocating to Bitcoin and Ethereum and to these altcoins, and they're starting to feel threatened. So let's just hear what Microstrategy has to say. Michael Saylor, who says, Justin, Microstrategy beat every single company in the S&P index using a Bitcoin strategy. Now, if that is not threatening, I don't know what is. So let's hear what he has to say.
5%. The number one performing stock in the S&P is NVIDIA, up 821% as of Friday. So we beat every single company in the S&P index using a Bitcoin strategy. It's been a great journey since August 10th of 2020. MicroStrategy's bought about $8.3 billion worth of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's up 44% a year on average since then. The S&P's up 12%. And since we levered it, we're up 825%. The number one performing stock in the S&P is NVIDIA, up 821% as of Friday. So we beat every single company in the S&P index using a Bitcoin strategy.
I like how he says every single company. Let me emphasize that is huge. I mean, why? And investors are starting to open their eyes to the possibilities here. 44% in Bitcoin versus a 12% or 11% for the S&P. I mean, the choice seemed, at the very least, to have some sort of allocation, as Anthony Scaramucci says, to get off zero. If all institutional investors and people like this start getting off zero, things can heat up quickly. I think much more quickly than most people can understand. Okay, here's the Bitcoin chart. On the last episode, I mapped out a little bit about previous cycles and Plan B's theory as to, the best time to buy is 6 months before the halving, the best time to sell is 18 months after. And if you go back here to the last cycle, the halving was in May 2020. And then we had our historic ascent starting October and our peak in just around November, which lines up exactly with those. So then I mapped it out again for this bull cycle, which I believe we've been in this bull cycle since January 2023. And in that year, that October, we started our massive ascent just before BlackRock came out and said, we're going to launch this Bitcoin ETF. And now we had our halving in April, on April 15th. We're currently in October again. Will this be the start of our last parabolic phase of the bull run? If history has anything to do with it, it looks like it will. So the question is whether or not we'll get it now or end of Q4, but generally Q4 tends to be a very explosive point in the year for bull markets. So I'm very excited at possibilities here. And here's just another Bitcoin chart, showing a little bit of the point of control. We have the bottom of the range, the most important point of control down here around 59 to 60,000, and then the upper point of control up here at 70,000. If we can break that $70,000 level and hold, fireworks. Off to the races. We are off to the races. So we're keeping a close eye on this. This is a chart from Capital Mindset, one of my favorite trading groups, and I have a big announcement coming regarding that. So stay tuned. And then I want to play a little bit of clip here from TJ Miller, famous actor from Deadpool, Ready Player One, Silicon Valley. He's so funny. And he was on my podcast as well. And what I love about this is we're starting to get celebrities who are actually building meaningful things in the space or trying to educate in a proper way, not just the typical pump and dumps we've witnessed before or cash grabs. So I want to play you a few clips from this because I think you're going to find it really funny. And I hope that you go and watch it. It is out now. So please do have a look because we need more of this in the space, and go and leave a comment and let us know how much you liked it, if you think it's funny. I think it's a great way to get mainstream involved. So I'm going to play a little clip for you now of TJ Miller saying that the problem with this space is that we make it so exclusionary. We make it so difficult, and the terminology is just so... We want retail to be a part of this. We want people to get on board. So he pokes a little bit of fun at Russell Brand. Check it out.
Thing that matters is that blockchain is the future. It's happening right now. And it is so bizarre that the majority of the population not only doesn't understand that, doesn't even know about it. They're just not even...
It just doesn't want to know. It's kind of like when you tell somebody, hey, have you heard about crypto and whatever? It seems like such a monumental task to them. They kind of just go, oh, yeah, I've been meaning to get it. Okay. I've been meaning to get to it.
So now I'm not going to talk shit about Russell Brand, but I'm going to say... One of my frustrations at the Bitcoin conference, which I'm sure you're doing in Vegas, and so I'm going to be there in Vegas as a speaker.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah, so that's going to be so fun. So Russell Brand came and he spoke, and part of Russell Brand's humor is sort of sounding like he's the smartest man in the world. He's sort of almost talking the inconsistencies contextually would find themselves into sort of a bevy of other institutional dichotomies, which can't be even seen as anything other as the antithesis of their own axiomatic proof of work. And the problem with that is, that was a pretty good impression.
It's pretty good.
The problem with that is that the reason people don't want to get into crypto or blockchain is because it seems too overwhelmingly complicated.
Yep.
And so what you need people to do, and what I think you're good at, and what I think I'm trying to do is say, look, this isn't that complicated if you just start and go slow. That's it. That's all you...
So yeah, he's advocating for people to start studying, start looking into it. He's also the first comedian to launch an ordinals collection. Good on him. So let's all support that because we need more of this in the space. Please do go and watch that. Let me know what you think. So next up, the most important news piece of the day, in my opinion, and of this week, and just so telling is Italy is raising its plans to, has not confirmed, but plans to raise its capital gains tax on Bitcoin from 26 to 42%. Now, that is devastating for this industry, and I'm going to tell you why. But let's first read some opinions. I mean, it's almost as if it's a stealth ban on Bitcoin, because who in their right mind is going to want to work hard, take the risk of putting their money into some other asset class to be able to have that financial freedom, that financial sovereignty, only to pay almost half of it back to the government, who's essentially hedging against their own dying currency? It's just not right. So let's have a look at what Crypto Twitter, or CryptoX, now has to say. So the UK is set to raise capital gains tax from 20 to 39 in the upcoming weeks. Italy just raised capital gains tax on Bitcoin from 26 to 42%. So essentially it's work, pay income tax, invest your money, take the risk, pay half your profits to them. Governments are robbing us. Yes, and they have been for a very, very long time. A government should be a service that competes to have you as a citizen, and not somebody that's creating legislation by enforcement and stifling innovation. It's so wrong, and it's not the way that we should go as a whole in the world. Here's more thoughts on this. While not officially yet, it's likely to pass given the political climate. Here's the harsh reality. You earn income tax, you invest assuming all risks. If you profit, nearly half goes to the government. Is this fair? No, it's not fair. And the Tether CEO even slams Italy. Tether CEO Paolo Arduino voiced his frustration, sharing a meme that hinted at an exodus of crypto users from Italy to more welcoming jurisdictions. He later commented that Italy's logic seemed to be that the more successful a sector becomes, the more it should be taxed. It's a sarcastic tone. Arduino added, "How dare Italians use Bitcoin as a protection or a hedge against Italian financial policies?" Man, Italy, you're fumbling the ball here. I'm living in Spain. I'm worried that this is going to start catching on like, wildfire among other European countries, and I truly hope not, because it's a sad day when you're driving your citizens out who want to be able to be a part of the future. I mean, just think about that. Here we have some reactions from, the X community. Here's this guy. The Italian right-wing government, which is interesting here, has raised capital gains tax on Bitcoin. Thank goodness I haven't lived in the country I was born in for 20 years and will never return. Go F yourself, as Elon Musk would say. Disappointing for a country full of old people that need youth. That is exactly right. Like, it's the younger generation that's going to build the core atomic building blocks of the future, and you're driving them away from your country. The old people voted for it out of selfishness and not understanding. Now the youth will believe them even more. Enjoy staying poor, Italy. You guys, it's not looking good. That's for sure. Then we have Mario Nafal here. They justified the move by saying it's to fund youth and businesses, though young investors are reportedly not feeling much of that love right now. Watch out for whales jumping offshore platforms, the same deal as what happened in India post-2022. But here's the twist. Bitcoin still pumped 4% after the news, touching 67K. Will Italy's crypto scene survive this? Hey, if Italy passes this bill, I am most definitely sure that people who are very into crypto and, invest in Bitcoin long-term will not want to stay there. And that's the sad reality, because it's a beautiful country, and so is Spain. And I am actually encouraging Spain to take the leap and become the hub here. Like, step up and be the one that shows Europe that we can actually not fumble the ball like in Italy, like in the US, like in so many jurisdictions, and we can be welcoming to crypto investors and builders. Here it says, Dubai is about to become full of Italians. Imagine you get a 10K salary in Italy, which is taxed at 42%. You end up with 5.8K a month. You put that into Bitcoin, and when you sell, you pay another 42% tax. Do you see the scam? Wow. That's horrendous. That's something to think about there. I think that a lot of this has to do too with not having financial literacy, financial terms, and the way that we can handle money and just financial literacy in general was never taught, even in universities. We didn't have courses on how to handle money, how to be entrepreneurs, how to deal with that stuff. So I think that the world at large, especially, my generation and older, they don't really have that education. And so they don't realize this whole Ponzi scheme, essentially, that's happening. And the corruption and the kind of like, I don't want to say enslavement, but servitude. I think it was Yatsu that said that it's essentially indentured servitude, right? Like, That's what it is. And it's time to help people around the world open their eyes by pointing out these stories and why they're so damaging to, this bright future that we're trying to build. Here, let's see the clip for Elizabeth Warren. What exactly happened here, who gets, in Altcoin Daily's terms, destroyed in a heated crypto debate with Jon Deaton. Here we go. Let's have a look at this.
Her bill bans Bitcoin self-custody in America, yet she's allowing the banks to custody Bitcoin. Another example that Senator Warren's policies do not help poor people. They do not help the working class. Her bill bans Bitcoin self-custody in America, yet she's allowing.
So, hopefully you're starting to see the double standards here, the contradictions, the manipulation, the corruptness. And I see this in Spain. I see this. I work at a very high level in the industry, and I can see what people are doing on the institutional side versus what they're doing to their customers. And they're most definitely not wanting their customers to have access to the same tools as them. It's been that way since the beginning of time. And essentially, it's continuing to be that way. And it's sad that we have a senator like Elizabeth Warren who will not allow this industry to flourish because of her own self-interest, as it seems.
I want to ask Senator Warren, why would you not ask one question? JP Morgan Chase settled for $290 million to these rape victims. They had to settle with the U.S. Virgin Islands. And Senator Warren doesn't ask a question. You want to know why? Because a former Democrat president's involved, because her donors are involved, because people that she knows are involved. Again, loyalty to an agenda, loyalty to a party. I come in and I want transparency on everything. I'd like her to answer the question on behalf of all those rape victims.
That was very, very heated. There was a lot in what he said there, and it goes really deep, much deeper than crypto, but to the corruption on a government level, on a much bigger scale, even what's happening with P. Diddy now, or Puff Daddy, or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of things that are surfacing now that seem to be no way to contain them anymore. So it seems that we're in the beginning of a new era. And the question is, what will that new era look like? And as we wrap this stream up, I want to come back to Ethereum because I still stand firm in my conviction that Ethereum will do well, and that, when something is so beaten down in a narrative as Ethereum is, that's generally a good entry point. So as we see here, co-creator Vitalik Buterin sets over 100,000 transactions per second across layer 1 and layer 2 networks on Ethereum as a long-term goal for the next stage of scaling the network. So he has outlined a very ambitious goal of this 100,000 transactions per second for Ethereum's roll-up-centric scaling roadmap. So things are happening in the background. ETH is not dead. Just know that. And next, I just want to show you a chart to finish out this stream. As you can see, we had some resistance here at around the $2,400 level. And then this is the key level of the most resistance up here at around $2,580. And after that, I want to show you our current symmetrical triangle that's building up. And a few notes here. This chart is also from Capital Mindset. So these are the kind of things we look at on a daily basis as a group. And you see here, common to see deviations below the 200 MA. We may see a test of this lower trend line at some point in a fake out from Bitcoin or whatever it may be. And that could also be a phenomenal entry. And as you see here, if it does break up, we've got a target of 4,600 and beyond. So guys, it's close to oversold. We could see a bounce down at this lower trend line. If we do, I'm loading the boat. Just saying. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed this stream. I hope you enjoyed opening your eyes to some things that are happening around the world. And let me know in the comments, who do you think is going to win this election? What do you think the price for Bitcoin will be? And what do you want to see happen? I'm just curious. I'd love to get your guys' comments and feedback. And on that note, that's all for today. And I'll see you tomorrow.